The talk today is from the University of Reading, and it's all about living away at university. Sorry, so moving out of your hometown and actually choosing to live away while you spend your time at university. So, what are we going to cover today? Well, we're going to look at should you move away from home for university. So we'll go over some of the benefits and maybe some questions we quite often get as a university about sort of queries or things that we're not quite sure of when we're making that move away from our hometowns. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what accommodation is really like as a student. So I'll introduce you to the different options available at halls. We'll discuss if you're able to go home to visit your friends and family while you're away at university, because I know obviously this year has been a little bit different and maybe some headlines and things have got you worried about the kind of freedoms or ability that you'll have to actually leave accommodation and go and visit your friends and family. And we'll look at a bit of budgeting as well. So what will you need to pay for while you're away and sort of things to think about in terms of finances while you're away at university as well. Okay, so the first question, should you move away for university? Okay, so it is a big decision, and many students going to university, they've never lived away from home before. So there is a lot to gain, and the first thing is independence. So you'll never have freedom like you do at university, and you'll be able to do things your own way. So this means you can join whatever clubs you want to, get work done whenever it suits you, cook meals you want to eat, and buy the groceries that you want to have in the cupboard. You're going to meet loads of new people. You're going to arrange to meet these new people whenever and wherever you want, and you really will get to make your own decisions about how you shape your own life, as it's not going to be anybody there to ask you what time you're going to get home at, or if you want dinner tonight. It also means that you might make a few of your own mistakes, but remember that moving away is a learning experience, and if you set fire to a piece of toast or you put a metal tin in the microwave, it won't be the end of the world. There are some great fire alarms at university. So the second thing is life experience. So you will grow as a person and you'll learn things that you wouldn't otherwise have come across. So this could be things about yourself or about other people. And moving away from where you grew up will mean that you meet new people and you'll have the chance to get to know a whole new community who have had different experiences and different upbringings. So this can be quite a refreshing way to share new ideas, understand other cultures, or reflect on your own experience of what it means to be normal. You might learn new things that you never knew about yourself, and that might be both good and bad things. And lastly, responsibilities. So responsible for your finances, responsible for your relationships that you maintain, responsibilities for cleaning up after yourself, responsibilities for your studying. So no one's going to tell you what to do or when to do things at uni. So if you don't hand in an assignment in on time, you won't have to stay after school or college to get that done at university. You're not going to be told off by your teachers or your parents. If you don't hand the work in or if it's not completed to a good enough standard, then you're going to fail the assignment. It's as simple as that. And if you keep doing that, then you won't pass the year. And the same holds true with things like budgeting for your money or what you choose to eat. Again, there's not going to be anyone who's going to ask you to sit down for dinner at 7 p.m. every night, but you will quickly learn that pizza and pot noodles on the go, that's not really a satisfying diet, and home-cooked meals are to be valued and enjoyed. So there's other things to think about when budgeting as well. And like I said, we'll cover some of those things later on in the presentation. Now, sometimes we hear from students that they're quite worried to leave home and they might not want to leave their hometown for going to university for lots of different reasons. Maybe that means that their university choices are limited to the universities that are just going to be located within about a 1 hour's drive from their house, or maybe easily commutable on a train from where they live. And you can definitely go to a local university, and that can really work for some people, but it will be a different experience. And I know that I get sort of FOMO when I can't go out and do the things that my friends are doing. And so if you know that you've got to get back home after lectures, for example, then you might find yourself missing out on some of the university experiences that come with living away from home. So there are lots of factors that come into play when making the decision to move away. Some people do worry that they'll miss their friends and family. with this, mostly we find that students tend to throw themselves wholeheartedly into student life when they get here. And in the first week of university, you have something called Welcome Week, and that's basically where you meet all of the new people, you meet all your new friends in halls, and basically you very rarely find yourself lonely in the first few weeks at university. There are lots of university clubs and societies to get involved with. You're getting to know a new town, a new city that you're living in. And then, of course, you'll be spending time in lectures, seminars, studying for assignments. So we actually generally find the opposite, that students are expecting to feel quite homesick, but in reality, they're so busy with their new lives that they have to go out of their way to actually remember to call home. So saying that though, it is important that you do try and stay in touch. So your parents will want to know that you've settled in okay and that you've made new friends, and they'll want to know that, you know, the pie recipe that they gave you, that worked out all right, and that you know how to use the washing machine and things like that. So we've all had loads of practice with Zoom calls and stuff this year, and there's no reason why that should stop, even when things do go back to normal. So things like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, they're also great ways to update your friends and family about what you're getting up to at university. So concerns about leaving behind boyfriends and girlfriends, they are real. And we always try and emphasize that you've got to make the right decision for you. So you've got to do what's going to be the best for you, not for somebody else. So you can always visit partners at home at the weekends. You can always, they can always come and stay with you at university. There's even shared family accommodation if you did want to pair up together and go to the same university. But do remember that, you know, you're 17, 18, relationships do tend to come and go a little bit, and you wouldn't want to look back on your decision not to go to university further afield just based on a relationship that you had at college. So if it is meant to be, then it will most likely last through university. And you just got to remember as well that a significant other that really did care about you, they wouldn't want you to miss out on an opportunity or be held back from doing something that you really wanted to do just because of them. So a few things to bear in mind there. And lastly, people do worry about cooking, so it's quite common, maybe not to be too confident in the kitchen at the beginning. And we'll have a look at this over the slides that I'm going to talk about with accommodation, and we'll explore a few bits there regarding sort of food and cooking opportunities at uni. So when you live away as a student at university, you're likely to apply for a place in halls, and you'll move into a shared accommodation that's specifically designed for students. Now, they're called halls because historically they were large buildings with lots of hallways and rooms coming off the halls that led to bedrooms. So essentially, it's a building with lots of halls in it, okay, which is why it's called halls. Accommodation has come a fairly long way recently, and there's much more of an emphasis on students being comfortable now and living accommodation that meets their needs, which includes kind of good heating, double glazing, hot showers, speedy Wi-Fi. That's all available in kind of modern student halls that you find today. You won't be sharing a room with anybody. So having a roomie is quite an American college thing. And next to no bedrooms at universities in the UK have shared bedrooms. You'll have your own space, and depending on how much you want to pay, you might get your own your ensuite in the bedroom, or you might get a double bed. Some student rooms can be really quite spacious. So it kind of depends what you're looking for and how much you want to pay. You'll also might most likely find that you share a kitchen with around 6 or 7 other people, and you'll live in the same shared flat as these other students. So you do have some say in who you live with. So when you apply for halls, be sure to write down your interests and hobbies so that you might be paired with like-minded people. So they do try and place students where they'll be happy, and they might be conscious that someone who relaxes with meditation and yoga might not want to live in the same flat as someone who likes playing electric guitar in a metal band. Okay, so make sure that you just note your interests when you're applying for your halls application. So a little bit more information about that. So living in halls in your first year is a really great way to make new friends, and you'll probably all have your first dinner together after you move in, or chat over a cup of tea while you're moving your belongings in, and they'll kind of be your first friends at university, and they'll be the people that you see every day at your best and at your worst. So it's like a ready-made set of friends when you move into halls. Halls themselves are usually on campus or just a short walk away from where your lectures are. And that's if you choose to go to a campus university. So if you choose a London uni, or if you go to a different city university, things might be a little bit different. You might be a little bit further away. So you might just want to do some research and investigate that if your situation is a little bit different there. So at Reading, there's a little student area, which is a bit like a mini village, where a lot of the accommodation is, and it's got a bar, a restaurant, it's got the clothes washing facilities, and some great green spaces to relax in. So it's like a nice little sociable community area where the kind of student living accommodation is. So halls is also a really safe and easy place to live. There's 24-hour security and they come in and they check on the flats every so often. So you'll get a key to the block that you're in, and only people that live in the building can actually get in and out of each of the blocks of flats in the university accommodation. So it's nice and safe. And you won't have to worry about any bills or internet packages to sign up to, as all of that admin stuff is taken care of and included in the rent that is charged to live in the halls. Okay, I'll just say at this point as well, if you do have any questions on any of this stuff, just put it in the question box and we can sort of pick up those questions as we go. Okay, so as you'll be completely aware, doing your university research, open days haven't really happened as normal this year, but there is loads of stuff online that's hopefully enabling students to get a little bit of an insight about what the accommodation actually looks like at different universities. You can often explore the different university accommodation virtually on the university websites, and they may have software that lets you look around the different bedrooms so that you can see the kind of storage spaces and realistically visualize where you might like to live. Okay, so if you do get a chance to visit any universities in person this year, there are usually some spring open days instead of March, April time. So it might be that you get a chance to visit the universities that you're interested in then. It is a great idea to go on the tours of the accommodation as well. And when you're there as well, just chatting to those students about where they lived and what they liked about the halls that they were in. So this is just a picture of what our kind of student kitchens look like. So as I said, you'll most likely have a shared kitchen when you're at university, and that will be whether you opt for catered halls or self-catered halls. So if you choose to be self-catered, that means that you're going to be responsible for cooking for yourself all of the time and making sure that you've, been shopping, make sure that you have food in for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. So in these shed kitchens, you'll be given a cupboard with some space in the fridge. Sorry, you'll be given a cupboard, which obviously you'll be able to include, put all your utensils and your dishes and things in, and then you'll also get some space in the fridge as well. It'll be a shared fridge, but you'll be able to divide that up with the other people that you're living with. So there's lots of room, enough space to store all your food bits and pieces. Okay, so that's self-catered. You'll be expected to cater for yourself. Some people really aren't ready to cook when they move out to go to university, and many people choose instead to live in accommodation that is catered. So this basically means that they receive some or all of the meals while they live in halls. And sometimes there's different packages. So sometimes it's only breakfast and dinner provided. And so at the weekends and at lunchtimes, you might have to, you know, get your own meals sorted or eat out, for example, or at a friend's flat. Um, Yep, so you'll still get a kitchen to do those things, but it might just be a slightly more condensed kitchen than maybe some of the bigger ones for the self-catered halls. So you might still need a shared kitchen to boil up some pasta, for example, or heat a meal up in the oven for some meals if you are in a catered halls, but for those times when you don't actually get a meal. So it's worth just doing a little bit of research on that. The different packages that are available when you apply for halls, it will kind of list all the things that are kind of available for the halls that you are looking at. So you have got to weigh up the kind of cost benefit of these different options. So if you're self-catered, you get to do your own shopping and you get to choose exactly, obviously, what you want to eat. You could also pair up with friends and cook together and save money. You also might be able to do the shop together, and you might be able to shop smartly and save on sort of multi-buy discounts and save some cash that way as well. Catered options, they might be easier, but you'll be limited to just what's on the menu and it can be more expensive. So have a think about what might work best for you. So we've just had a question come in and it's just asking about can you change your room after moving in? Generally, no. So once you've kind of got that room, that's kind of your room for the year. You'll have entered into a signed contract that you are paying for that particular room, and you'll have got your key and everything. Now, if there are sort of massive issues in terms of like maintenance issues, like if it's just not fit for purpose, like, the window doesn't fit properly or something weird like that, which it shouldn't really, because they all get kind of serviced and everything over the summer between students. But if there's something like drastically wrong, obviously you'll be able to move out. If it's just a kind of location thing, then you'll just kind of have to suck it up and, carry on walking an hour to your lectures. Or if it's kind of like a particular issue with maybe somebody else that you share a flat with, obviously they'll give you support in different ways to kind of help that work out for you. But I mean, that will kind of be a process, and you'll be going through that process supported by someone. And so hopefully they'll get to the best outcome that they can come to as you're in that situation. But generally, no, like once you've signed that contract for your room and halls, that's the one that you'd kind of stay in. That's for your first year though. Okay, so this is only for 1 year, because the process is slightly different in your second and third years, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But before I do that, I'll just talk to you about the application process for your accommodation. So there will be different deadlines for different universities, and generally you'll be directed to what you need to fill in once you've confirmed which university is going to be your firm choice. So once you've decided the university that you really want to go to, they'll then start the accommodation application process. Okay, so it will most likely be an online application form, and often you'll get to choose your top 5 accommodation choices at that one university, and that's based on how much you want to pay and what facilities you'd like. So as I said, it's worth doing a little bit of research and not just kind of guessing which accommodation will be okay for you. Don't worry too much about being really close to your department building specifically on the university campus. Your lectures and seminars could take place anywhere in the university, so don't just look at where your department building is, but be a bit more holistic with that. And you can choose different lengths of stay for the accommodation too. So some people like the security of having their room all year long. So that would be 51 weeks a year, I think, because they require 1 week just to kind of turn over the room before the next cohort of students come in. Whereas other people, they know that they're going to be moving back home for the holidays, and so they might be happy to move all of their stuff out of their rooms for their vacations. So again, just make sure you do your research and you have a think about which situation might suit you best. Okay, so like I said, things are slightly different in your second and third year. Typically, students like to then move out into a shared house in their second and third years. And this is usually a kind of terraced house or something similar, so it doesn't kind of have a driveway and a massive garden. They're normally quite sort of, basic properties that are quite affordable for students. They're generally located in the town or the city where you're studying, maybe a short walk away from the university campus. And in Reading, there are lots of roads with kind of student housing down, where private landlords, they rent out their houses by the room. And that suits groups of friends who might want to live together all in the same house. So it can be a really exciting time, sort of house hunting with your friends. You just got to remember to be realistic with your expectations for what you can actually afford in terms of the houses that you're looking at. We've got a website on the Reading University pages, and it's basically so that you can talk to university students at obviously Reading University. And what they've done also is those students have produced blogs, and that's quite often videos or kind of little articles for you to read, maybe about their experiences of moving away from home or living in different accommodations. So it's quite nice in some ways just to hear a kind of student's perspective in terms of living away at university as well. And that forum is just a really nice way of kind of getting that information when you can't get it in sort of standard open days and things at the moment. So we'll carry on. That's fine. I just wanted to let you know about that. So our next kind of question is, will you be able to go home? And basically, The answer is yes, of course you can. So this year has been a really mad one, and headlines have caused a lot of rumours and a lot of social panic, which really doesn't help you guys with the decision-making process. But please let me reassure you that in normal circumstances, you are absolutely free to come and go when you live at university. So you're treated like an adult, and it's up to you to make decisions about where you want to be at the weekends. You'll probably want to go home for a weekend or two in your first term at uni, maybe more. So you might want to think about sort of public transport links to your hometown, as it's unlikely that you'll be able to take a car to university with you, unless there's like a real specific need to have a car at university. But for most students, it's discouraged. You're not allowed a car at university. So just something to be aware of. And there are lots of deals that you can look into. And so make sure that you take advantage of different ways to save money as a student, like when you are going home at the weekends, or for some time at the beginning of your university. So you might want to look into sort of cheap megabus tickets. So they can, if you book in advance, you can get a ticket for like £1, depending on where you are in the UK. And if you're traveling by train as well, just making sure that you book those tickets in advance. And you might want to look into the 16 to 25 rail card, which means that you'll get to save at least a third on all of your rail travel as well. And also, like when you and your friends will go off to university, it can actually be a great opportunity to explore different parts of the UK, perhaps places that you've never been to before. So if you're happy to sleep on your mate's floor, for example, then you might want to organise some weekends to go and visit them, and maybe say hi to their new friends at university as well. So it doesn't have to be a kind of I've left my old friends behind. It can just be a new opportunity for you guys. Okay, so that kind of leads me on to budgeting then. So if you're applying for university and you currently live in the UK, then you're most likely to be eligible for something called the student loan that the government offers to all students who want to study at university. So hopefully you'll be aware of the student loan system and kind of what that means for you. If you are a student living in Wales, then you've also got access to something called the Welsh Government Learning Grant as well, which is just another bit of money that the Welsh Government specifically give you to help you on your journey for university as well. And that's not just to go to Welsh universities, that's to go to any university. The only eligibility is that you currently live in Wales. Okay, so the student loans are quite often misunderstood, and people do worry that when they finish university, they'll be in a lot of debt, and they think that maybe the cost-benefit analysis isn't really worth it to them. So I would recommend thoroughly doing your research regarding this, and they're really not like normal bank loans or any other loan that you might hear about. It's a very different way of borrowing money. And the repayment process is also very different to these commercial loans. Okay, so there are lots and lots of talks available online that can help you help to explain the process for you. And these loans basically, they are really there to make sure that everybody can afford to go to university, no matter what your background or situation is. So that's the money that's available for the course fees, but also there's the other half of the loan, the maintenance loan, which is for your living costs, and that pays for things like rent, bills and food, etc. Okay, so if you haven't already, make sure you do a little bit of research into the student finance packages that are available, and we do encourage students to kind of benefit from those that are available. So what will you likely be paying for while you're away at university? The number one thing that you'll see coming out of your account every month or kind of every quarterly is the rent for your halls. So that's going to be the biggest expense that you'll have to pay for while you're living away. Now, this amount can vary depending on what facilities you've chosen and what you kind of deem to be essential for your life at university. So accommodation with a shared bathroom is obviously going to be cheaper than accommodation with a bedroom with an ensuite. And the less you pay for accommodation, it means the more money you'll have left over to spend on other things. Okay, so the other things that you're likely to want to spend your money on are things like the weekly shop, travel, sort of local travel, as well as travel back home or to different cities, and sort of social events that you might want to get involved with at university as well. So for example, many clubs and societies, they put on socials once or twice a week, and it's a really nice way to get to know other students over a drink, a pizza or a film. So you'll want to just put some money aside for those sort of social activities as well. Okay, so you'll also want to put aside some money for travel, like we talked about. Train tickets can be as much as kind of £40, £60, depending on where you're going in the UK. So just make sure you've kind of considered that in your budget while you're away at university. And other things like entertainment. So if you know that your phone package, for example, your monthly cost is like £20, £25, just make sure that that's kind of budgeted for in terms of what's coming out of your account every month. Things like clothes and personal items you can save on, but obviously if you do like high street shopping quite a lot, then that's just something to be aware of. So this table just kind of shows us the different things that you might be spending your money on. So these are typical amounts that are charged on these different things at Reading University. So your rent can be up to £200, and that's a week. So that's a weekly cost for your accommodation. Food, it depends if you sort of take advantage of the special offers and things, and how you like to budget with your food. If you kind of like buying branded food, or if you're quite happy with kind of own brand or value brands, then obviously it's going to be a little bit cheaper. Things like I said, your mobile phone, you'll just want to be aware of how much you're spending on your mobile phone package. Perhaps if you've got the latest iPhone at the moment and loads of data, you might just want to downgrade that before you go to university. Things like travel, again, that's going to vary month on month and week on week potentially, but just make sure that you're putting a bit of money aside for travel every month. Your books and stationery, obviously you're at university to do learning. Now there are ways that you can save on books and stationery. For example, if you visit the library a lot, you can just rent the books rather than buying them, but it might just be nice to have some in as well in your room at uni, just so you don't have to go out. And you probably will want some new clothes in the time that you're at university. So if that's you, then just make sure you're putting some money aside for that, and your entertainment and social life as well. If you have a budget every week of what you're happy to spend, then it's easier to kind of keep track of that and be able to kind of like rein it in a little bit when it's kind of getting a bit high. Okay, so your weekly spend could be higher than you kind of think it's going to be initially, but you'll kind of quickly fall into a bit of a rhythm. Some people have a special bank account that their loan goes into, and then they kind of like distribute that out every month, just so you know they don't have a pot of money just staring at them and that they think they can spend all the way through the month when actually they need to sort of keep some back. Okay, but you'll find ways of managing that. There are also different ways that you can save money at university. So rather than getting the bus to university or bus onto campus, you could walk or cycle. So it's just one way, simple way to save some money. Things like buying course textbooks, like I said, you can buy them online or secondhand, which is a little bit cheaper, or just rent them from the library. When choosing your accommodation, prioritise the important things for you. So maybe you'd quite like an ensuite, but maybe actually you don't need an ensuite. So have a look at the sort of price comparison when you're actually looking at that accommodation when you're applying for halls. Like I said, book travel in advance, high street shopping for clothes. There's something called, well, I don't think it is called an NUS card anymore. I think it's called a totem card, but it's the same thing. And it's basically a student card, which will enable you to get sort of 10%, 15% off high street shops. And there's sort of online discounts that come with that as well. So just getting a student card is quite a savvy thing to do. So just make sure that you're taking advantage of those savings. Quite often social events, maybe they might be going out, but you can actually choose to just stay home and sort of recreate a kind of restaurant meal or a come dine with me experience with some friends at university. So you might want to think about those things. And if you do go to the gym a lot, there are lots of clubs and societies that you can join at university. They've got like athletic societies, you can join the tennis club. If you're a rugby player, you can go and play rugby on the fields. So there are lots of ways that you can actually exercise for free and actually avoid sort of paying for an expensive gym membership. But at Reading anyway, they do actually have student rates for the gym as well, so it can be affordable if that's kind of a priority for you. And lastly, just making the most of any student deals on campus that are going on. Okay, so that's pretty much it. It seems like we just rattled through quite a lot of information there, but hopefully it's reassured you that moving away for university, it's not too scary, and you will gain a lot of life experience from living away from home. So I'll just point out as well that universities do offer a lot of support for students generally. And at the University of Reading, we've invested in a number of student support centres across the campus that provide students with peace of mind when living away at university. So these support centres are your first port of call for all the questions, help or advice throughout your time at the university, and they'll help you with all your academic, welfare and financial needs while on course. Staff will either be able to advise you directly or direct you to the right location to actually get further information. So these centres are supported they're staffed by the student support coordinators, and they're able to advise you or point you in the right direction for a range of academic and non-academic issues. So that includes anything from kind of like module or program advice, timetabling, courseworks, extenuating circumstances if you think you're eligible for any kind of extra time in exams or anything, disability assistance, financial support, so welfare and well-being, kind of anything that you kind of might need over and above the kind of normal situations. And there's also a whole building at Reading dedicated to student support as well, and that's called the Carrington Building. So that's what the picture on the screen is of. Here you'll be able to get all the advice on a whole lot of different things, including kind of immigration and international support, financial support and advice, careers advice, jobs if you're looking for a job while you're at university. Again, you've got disability support and counselling and wellbeing as well. So we've got a team of practitioners ready to help you out, whatever the situation is really. So just lastly, some really useful links that you might like to have a look at. So obviously we've got the accommodation pages on the University of Reading. I did talk about student finance, so you might want to look at the government web pages on student finance. Like I said before, if you're a Welsh student, it's worth also exploring the Student Finance Wales pages, just because you get a couple of extra things that English students don't. UniBuddy was the platform that I was trying to show you in the middle. But you can either access this from the Reading University pages, it's called Chat with a Student, or you can go to UniBuddy directly and search the blogs that are on there. And just a few other ones there as well. Obviously UCAS is kind of your go-to for kind of all higher education information as well. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of all the information that I wanted to go through. Obviously if you do have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer these now. And we can do those via the chat box, so I don't have to read out any embarrassing questions or anything if you want to. But if you don't have any questions, that's fine too. That's the end of our talk. So thank you very much for joining us for this webinar. And I do hope that it provided you with some interesting information about moving away from home for university. So I wish you all the best of luck with your university applications, and I hope it all goes to plan for you. All right, best of luck. Bye.